Welcome back to the shop today, guys. Sorry it's been a while, but let's build something. So the other day I got asked by my buddy Jamie, Competitor's Edge. Go check his YouTube channel out if you want to probably get more education than you get here. He's working on a small block Ford with some AFR 205 heads. At least I'm pretty sure those are the heads. So what he requested of me is he's like, hey, you built a plasma cutter, CNC plasma cutter. You should make me some header flanges that match those heads, because the headers that the owner of the vehicle has now are for a factory Ford head. And if you know anything about small block Ford heads, the exhaust ports are very tiny. And so the AFR heads counter this, which means they need a different flange on the headers. So he says, hey, can you plasma cut me some header flanges? And I said, sure. Don't know why I said yes, because that machine right there has given me nothing but problems software-wise. Mechanically, works great. But I, for the life of me, can't figure out the software side of it. I'm actually looking into a different software that I don't have now, different than I have now. It looks a little bit more user-friendly for a guy like me. I just wanted to cut. Wanted to cut what I wanted to, and when I wanted to. That's simple. But that's not what this video is about. So what I did is I have access to a CNC laser at my work, and I was able to get some flanges cut up. Now, I designed these, so I was a little nervous because I designed them to cut them on my machine. But I designed these in Fusion 360 to plasma cut myself, and I brought the DXF file to my work. They were able to laser cut these, and lo and behold, they fit perfect. By perfect, I mean good enough. They match the gasket I was given anyway, so we'll see about that. But my next hurdle is I need to get this header. Oh, and just so you know, like, look at how much they choke these things down. Like that, it's ridiculous. It's a pretty small port. So we're gonna cut these off and go to these. I'm gonna get rid of all the step down pieces here and fill that in with some new pipe that's coming. So to do that, I wanna build a jig that'll hold that header. So once I cut that flange off, I can put the new flange and the little pieces of pipe in its place, weld it all together, and not move this thing around. Because he's got X amount of space to work with. These headers fit his application. And if let's say I make these too long or too short, or weld it like this, weld it like that, whole bunch of crazy angles, they're not going to fit the truck or car or whatever it's in anymore. So I have a piece of 3/8 plate, which I was going to cut those out of. But yeah, whatever. I'm a little sour about that. I'm going to see if I can kind of build off of this, tack weld some legs to it to make a kind of a double-sided jig. One for the driver's side header, one for the passenger side header. Maybe it'll work. So I'm going to get to that, start brainstorming and figure out a way to do that, and I'll come back when I have a plan. Just as a side note for you guys, and gals if you're watching, the reason I'm using a 3/8 plate for this is it's the flattest piece of steel I have. I would have used a thicker plate if I had that available in my scrap bin, but I don't. So this is fairly flat enough for an exhaust flange anyways, and something heavy that when I weld to it or tack things to it, it's not going to go all cattywampus on me. So that's why I'm using that. If I had 1/2 inch or 1 inch, I'd probably try using something like that to make sure it's a little bit more certified flat kind of deal. But this is all I got. So this is what I'm using. Okay, guys, so don't laugh, okay? I'm using scraps here. So I got my header up here. I just got clamps on here right now. I'll probably put more clamps on here for when I'm actually doing the buzz. Got my plate. Got a piece of angle iron here. I got 2 other little scrap pieces of angle iron. The reason I'm using angle iron is because I didn't have to cut these. They were already pre-cut. One of them even had a hole in it already. So I am going to tack weld those 2, that one and that one, to this bottom one. And then I'm going to weld this to my plate. And this is going to be the main holding apparatus. That's going to keep the majority of the header in the right location. I was going to do some bolts here, but because the header flange that we're putting on has a different bolt pattern, I don't really have much to go off of. So I'm going to use clamps, but this is basically going to put the header where I want it. And then I have some other chunks of angle iron here that fit up nicely underneath all 4 tubes, at least on this side. This is the passenger side, that actually just lightly touch all 4 of these pipes in the same location. So I'm going to put that underneath here, and I'm going to tack weld that here as well. So that's going to keep the header this way. I might even tack the tubes to that angle iron to keep them from moving. Then this thing should be rigid enough. Hope so. Maybe I'm overthinking it. I'm just trying to put this together with some scraps. I know it's not pretty, boys. I know. But I just need it to stay put and in the same location while I swap out the flanges. I think this will work. I don't think it's going to be too much more crazy than that. I'm hoping to reuse this bracket possibly on the other side, on the flip side. Just rebolt it down and then run the other one, kind of the same principle. But we'll see how that goes. I'm going to try this first. I'm going to get this tacked up and see what happens. All right, so we got it all tacked up. Don't judge the welds, guys. I didn't clean up anything. I just used the old flux core welder here to just tack it all in. Like I said, this is all going to get cut off this piece. I still plan on using this chunk of steel for something one day. So I just didn't clean anything. I got painted material, rusty material, so it looks like garbage. Those are the excuses I'm running with. And I'm sticking to them. So I got this plate tacked on there. That's holding it. I got a little tack underneath the pipes holding it down. So this thing shouldn't go anywhere if I go zip, 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 zip. But before I cut those off, I am going to take this pipe that Jamie was nice enough to provide. And he bought more than we needed, but more the merrier. This is the same size of diameter of pipe as these headers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of the flanges here, and I'm going to just kind of cut some pieces and kind of oblong them like the way the ports are. So they kind of slide in there a little bit. And from that, then I'll cut them down to, I don't know, an inch, inch and a half or so, whatever I'm going to need to get past this. I mean, to be honest, I would only need about half an inch, but I want some room to weld. So I'm going to go up as far as I can. And yeah, kind of makes sense. It should work. Now that this is all on this jig, it kind of sucks to cut these pipes. I should have almost done that first, but live and learn. So I'm going to get some pipe cut here, and we'll get them kind of mated with the flange, and then we'll try to cut this off and put the flange to it. Stick with me. Okay, so that took a little longer than I anticipated, but I got the first pipe section done. But I got this guy in here. So obviously I had to go from round to this rectangular shape. And it worked out pretty well, actually. The first one was a little rough because I just had to kind of figure out a system. I ended up using like a C-clamp to hold the one end down and squeezing the other, whatever. But it worked. Just a little light taps, some hammers, and it went in here. I didn't have to abuse it too much. And I kind of got it about halfway down into the flange, which is kind of what I was going for. So I can kind of, let me see if I can set this up here. So I can kind of weld on the inside as well, and I'll kind of port that out when I'm done. And I'll also run a bead around the outside. And you know, not too bad of gaps, actually, if you ask me. Trying to use the sunlight here. Sorry for the glare. But fit nice. So now I just have to do that 7 more times, but I'm going to do this side first. So 3 more times, and then we'll see if we can get this guy done. But yeah, it's working. So I'm going to do that for him 3 more times. We'll keep at it. Okay, so making some progress. Got all my pipes made. Yeah, I didn't cut them all the same length, but whatever. I'm using what I got. So now these are all inset here. I should really buff this side of the flange, but I got those on here now. I'm leaving those loose. I mean, they're kind of press fit right now, but I'm leaving them loose because now I got to think about how I'm going to cut this as straight as possible with still leaving it on the jig, if at all possible. I'm figuring out a few things I probably should have done differently. Like maybe I should have cut this and did some more measuring and had a little bit more confidence using this thing off a jig because I could cut it a lot straighter, etc., etc. But I guess this way I'm kind of guaranteed it's going to be in the same place. Hopefully. So anyways, I'm going to get to cutting this. And once I have this cut off, I'll bring you guys back and we'll see how we're going to do this. It's going to be tough to fit up those pipes and kind of slide everything in at once, which is what I'm going to have to do now that I did this. So yeah, like I said, probably could have done this a little bit differently. Maybe I could have welded the pipes on first. I don't know. I'm going to run with this for right now. If I come up with a better idea, I might try a different way on the other side header. I still have to do that one too. So we'll see what I come up with, but I'm going to cut these bad boys and we'll see you in a bit. Well, guys, no turning back. So I took this off the jig. It was just easier to cut these things. I cut them pretty straight, kept them as straight as possible. And what I was looking for was trying to find a spot to cut where these were at its most rounded location. If we had unlimited funds, I probably would have got a bunch of bends and cut it here. That being so I can cut it a 90-degree cut and have the pipe match up perfectly. But we didn't think that far ahead on this, but these are close. I might bang some of these a little bit more round, but they're very close. I don't think it would really hinder anything, but we'll try to line it up the best we can. But yeah, I took it off the jig, gave it a cut. So now I am going to put it back on the jig. Yeah, put it back on the jig, and then we're going to set this guy on there and kind of start playing with our pipes. So it's going to get a little funny yet, I think, because I'm going to have to do all of them at once. Or maybe I can set it on the jig, get one of these on this plate. How am I going to explain that? Have it in this plate, up against the pipe, tack weld it here, take it off the jig, pull it off the... Well, I can't do that because I got to do all four. Yeah, so I'm going to have to do all four at once. Yeah. Let's make it happen. All right, guys. It's starting to look pretty good. This is the fit up. Not the straightest thing in the world, but she should weld up just fine. A few gaps here and there, but like I said, I think I should have gone the route of putting whole new 90s in here. I could have gotten away with 90s and actually cut them down here where everything was straight. But shoulda, coulda, woulda. But I got all these pieces in here where I want them. I'm going to start tacking these up. I'm going to tack them up I'm going to weld as far as I can, actually. I'm going to tack everything, let her cool down, do a couple more tacks, let it cool down. Kind of weld this thing up as best I can while it's still on my jig. And then once I can't go any further, I will go take it off the jig and I'll finish up everything else. I think we should be good. Nothing really moved around too much. I didn't put any pressure on any pipes that I shouldn't. Everything's a pretty nice fit. So yeah, hopefully she works. And then once this is done, I get to do it all over again with the second header. So if this works, at least we know it was a success. And I guess we really won't know until it's on the vehicle, actually. But I kind of have a lot of confidence in this right now. It's fitting up really well. So anyways, I'm going to start welding this guy. We'll see how she looks in the end. All right, guys, new day, but still on the headers here. It's April, and we had a pretty nasty storm. It snowed again. What are you going to do? But anywho, so I finished welding the first one, and I'm just starting to clean it up here a little bit. Welded pretty good. Because we were doing this, some of these bends are so close to the flange. I mean, my fit up wasn't the best, but I was able to fill everything up and grind it all out. Cleaned out the insides too, polished them up a little bit. I'm gonna do some more polishing there with some sanding discs, make it look a little cleaner. But this worked out really, really well. Finding out as a rookie welder, it's tough getting in at all areas going around a tube. I'm sure experienced welders know what I'm talking about. But I'm learning, so that's working out pretty good. I have the second one all jigged up and ready to go. So I'm gonna do that a second time. I probably won't film that because it's all the same stuff. But I'm gonna finish polishing up this one, get that one all welded up. Hopefully I can finish this off today. Okay, so this second one, some parts are easier, some parts are gonna be harder. But this one has a lot more straight sections available. So these three should be fairly easy. This one, I had to get a little creative. I'm a little worried about this one, but I kind of had to do that due to how it was kinked down and there was some dents in it and stuff. So I had to get rid of all that. So I'm hoping that I can use a chunk of this in here somehow. We'll see. I don't know if that really makes sense, but I'm going to use a chunk of this corner to try to get that in there. That one's going to be fun, but all the other ones kind of line up nice. So see how she goes. Well, guys, got her buttoned up. Worked out really well. I had to take some breaks. These storms have turned into almost flooding. And yeah, it's a mess in our area right now, but we're finding time to get in here. So I gave him a little shot of paint, prettied them up, ground a lot of my welds down on the pipes. So hopefully no one will be able to tell what I did, which kind of sucks because I'm pretty proud of the work that's been done. These ones, however, stick out a little bit, and that's because the spacing of the ports, the outer two ports, are a little bit further out than factory. At least that's when I took the gasket on the old flanges. Wasn't exactly the same port location. So there are a little bit of lips. There's one on this side too. You know, I had to kind of just flare it and move it around. But anyways, I think it turned out really, really well. And like I said, I don't want people to know that I did this. Well, I do want them to know I did this, but you don't. Because if you do a good enough job, people shouldn't know you touched it, right? Anywho, worked out really well. The paint cleaned up, it made it clean up a little bit nicer for the guy. Yeah, one thing that I will not do again, and after looking at other people's headers, I understand why they don't. I fully welded around these tubes, all the way around 360 degrees on both of them. The factory, or the ones that I cut off, they did it too, but they did MIG welding. And to be honest, guys, I wasn't very happy with the welds I put on this thing. But when I don't feel like I did a good job, I go look at those factory flanges that I threw out in my scrap bin, because I did okay. For what you would pay money for, I did okay. But I looked at my headers on my car. I looked at the headers that a buddy of mine recently purchased. Matt of Some Trades. New YouTube channel coming up, guys. I'll put a link for him in the description below. Go check him out. He's just starting out, and he will be a pleasure to watch, I'm sure. So yeah, I'll put a link to his YouTube videos in the description if you want to check him out. That would help him out a lot. But I looked at the headers he purchased, and all they did was they put just a little, about a 1/2 inch tack up here and a 1/2 inch tack underneath right here. But they did not go all the way around. And I've seen other headers that have done that, other headers that don't have anything at all. My headers on my race car, there is no welding on the outside of that tube. It's all done on the inside, which is what I did here as well. So I did it so I didn't want any exhaust leaks. I wanted to make sure that it was on there. But I think it turned out great. I really hope the guy is pleased with them. Yeah, I mean, not much more I could do. I hope they fit. I guess we really won't know until these are on the truck. But I'm pretty confident in it. Our jig held up well. I think we're in good shape. So anyways, Thanks for stopping by, guys. If you haven't subscribed, please do. I really appreciate that. My goal this year is 400 to 500 subscribers. I'm at 320 or something like that right now. And I appreciate every single one of you. Any questions, concerns, comments, whatever, shoot them down in the box down below there, and love chatting with you guys and seeing what's going on. This has inspired me to maybe take on another header project, a little bit more full-bodied header project for my car. But until the funds are there and until my CNC plasma is at its full operating potential, which there is more coming about that guy soon, making some changes. But anyway, yeah, go check out Matt of Some Trades again. I'll put his link in the description below. And yeah, thanks for stopping by. We'll see you on the next one. See ya.